Jaipur via Kota.
कृपया ध्यान आपको अहमदाबाद
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत.
Lucknow Junction.
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವ ರೈಲು
পরবর্তী স্টেশন নেতাজি ভবন कृपया ध्यान दियो
Sorry, I think I dropped some water on myself, Joy.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So I think it's just your spit takes at my jokes. Oh, we're on. Hello and welcome. You're watching Cricbuzz Live. I'm Gaurav Kapur. With me, my dear friend who cares enough to show up in person, Joy Bhattacharjya. Well set up. Also another dear friend who's literally phoning it in today, Shaun Pollock.
Yeah, you had to have a go, didn't you? You had
Of
to have
course.
a go.
It's easy.
First up, you're in there with a jab.
It's easy because what happens is that if you say anything mean to us, we can just mute you. I see he is wearing his blue today. Ooh. Supporting a team that's playing tomorrow. Ooh.
Well, we're gonna be building up to their match tomorrow, so I thought, you might as well just get in the spirit of things.
Excellent. Though you do know that we have another game in the middle of that, so we may have to talk about that just a bit before we get to the Mumbai game.
Oh, do we?
Yeah.
Do we?
Just a tad. You can see everyone's so happy because the Knight Riders won yesterday. I didn't watch the game, but I didn't think that they won it because I was at an event and then I finished and then I saw it and I must be reading it wrong. It's not 1/5 runs. It's like lost like 1/5 wickets. The other team. I was like, what's going on here? That was a heist.
No, it was an absolute heist. And I think the player of the season for them so far have been the 2-3 Indian boys. Varun Chakravarti, that last over that he bowled, absolutely fantastic. They managed to get Abdul Samad on strike, and then he bowls it in such a way that he just hits it straight down the throat of the deep wicket. I think that's the point, that Varun is the one player, one bowler among them who's really dialing it in this year, just doing superbly. He's doing an absolutely fantastic job. And that's the thing, that you're playing a team who's also a number 9 team or a number 10 team at this point in time.
Yeah.
So they're equally vulnerable and they just haven't learned how to win.
Does that happen though, Polly? Does that happen? The other day, Michael Vaughan said when he was with us here, he said that teams that have been winning find a way to win, and teams that have not been winning find ways to not win.
Yeah, what happens is you get into those situations where you should be getting over the line and you start to think, well, surely. You almost put yourself under that little bit more pressure. Like if you play as a golfer, you go into that last hole, you got that one last putt, and all you got to do is make it. If you have to make it on the 8th hole, you make it easy. But with you feeling like you're under pressure to get points, all of a sudden those back ends of the games become a bit more serious, and you overthink them, and you put extra pressure on yourself. So, I mean, the nature of the competition, it's points on the board and being able to qualify. So you do get a little bit nervous when you can't make it. And I think Sunrisers yesterday was a case in point that they seemed like they had it covered. But as Joy says, second game now. The other game was Rinko Singh. Joy had given up on them and they bounced back. And then yesterday he had given up on them and they bounced back again. So they just need to have some dominant performances to really keep Joy.
Oh, yeah. Or basically, if you want to succeed in life, Joy has to give up on you. Give up on me, Joy.
Sorry.
Give up on me.
Guys, these are sweeping statements out.
That's what we do. Sweeping generalizations. You see, I don't have the time to go into everything. So I just sweep everything with one brush. But yes, sorry, you were saying?
No, I was also saying, in a typical case in point, we're talking about teams to win and lose. Yesterday's match, the only match I can think of which was very much like this was KKR versus Delhi Capitals. If you remember, Kulwant Khejrulia, they can't hit it. Khejrulia obligingly bowls a no ball for them. He gets them back into the game. It was just which team could do more to lose. And they finally, Delhi sort of stumbled across the line, literally crawled across the line.
Almost apologetic.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to make you lose, because I haven't beaten anyone else, but, this had to happen one day.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Teams, actually, it happens to them. And especially when you have not won at all, and then you get into a winning situation, they don't know what to do. It very often happens.
Yeah, and I think that talking about Delhi, I think Delhi may have actually turned a bit of a corner after that game with Gujarat, where they've managed to kind of sneak that win from table toppers. You never know. Sometimes it needs that one watershed moment and you get back on the horse. maybe that was the one for them. But anyway, today it's about two other teams. We're talking about two teams that know how to win, and they have been winning. In fact, they played the final last year. We are talking about Rajasthan and Gujarat. So those are the two teams that are playing. They are on the upper half, top half of the table. We'll show you the points table. Gujarat right there on the top. Both of them have a game in hand from their co-inhabitants in the top four, which is Lucknow and Chennai. So if Gujarat wins, they just go clear. 10 games, 14 points, they just know they're qualifying then. You know, it's got to go. It's really got to go. It's got to be a train wreck for them to not from there. So they'll want that position of comfort. And Rajasthan will want to win today because that means that the race for 1 and 2, perhaps even the top 4, is still open. But then they jointly go into the lead with Gujarat. So obviously this game, Joy, means a lot to both these teams.
Absolutely. And this is sort of the temperature check for the season right now, because the first match, you know, Hetman managed to make it through, you know, Rajasthan managed to get through, but lots has changed since then. Gujarat have stumbled once or twice, but they've lost unlikely matches. Strangely, they've lost unlikely matches. They lost to Delhi. They lost to, you know, situations where they shouldn't normally lose, to Lucknow.
Yeah.
But on the other side, if you see Rajasthan's genuinely been stumbling. And one of the reasons is that top order that looks so strong, not all of it is firing. So and when they even get runs, like they got from last match from the Yashasvi Jaiswal, they haven't been able to defend.
Here's the thing though, right? For both these teams, Polly, what's different is that Gujarat actually till now, even though they've lost games, they haven't really been clearly dominated through a game or whipped through a game by anybody else. Whereas Rajasthan, maybe they were also like that, but the last game with that 200 chase, and Mumbai never looked like they were not going to win. They looked like they had that chase in control all through, didn't they? So I think that's perhaps the psychological difference you could have between these two teams.
Yeah, I think the big issue for them is that they both lost their last game. You know, with Gujarat, you kind of thought they were going to get over the line with Hardik being here. The Iceman maybe froze over a little bit. He didn't keep as fluid as he needed to do to get that score on the board. And then once Rajasthan post 200, you know, you think you're going to win that. So both of those games, it leaves them with a bit of an uneasy feeling after losing them.
Yeah.
But the key is that now they've got to play each other. So someone is going to lose 2 in a row. And that's when you start to doubt your team and start to doubt your selection. So it's an important game from that perspective. I know when we were with Mumbai, we always talked about, listen, we're going to lose the odd game. But it's when you start to lose 2, and then maybe that coupled into 3, then it becomes an issue for you as the season goes on. So both of them will be looking to bounce back, because the situations that they found themselves in, they would have been thinking, we could have won that easily and made sure we got some points in the bag. I love these teams. I love the contest that we saw from them last time. I thought it was thoroughly enjoyable. And I love their bowling attacks. Their bowling attacks are both fantastic. Yeah. So from a bowling perspective, I'm really looking forward to tonight.
It is what Ajay Jadeja has been telling us on Cricbuzz Live for years. It's a good bowling attack that will win you the tournament. Batting to sab kar lete, right? It's a good bowling attack. And Polly's so right. Both these teams have a great bowling attack. And we're going to talk about one from one team who is our man of platinum. We're talking about Ravichandran Ashwin. Here is a person who talks about method, madness and courage. And that's what men of platinum talk about. They talk about courage. And that's what we're going to focus on today. And Ravichandran Ashwin has shown us that he's truly a man of platinum, because when it comes to courage, he's right up there when it comes to bowling in any format.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, courage comes in many forms, you know. So one form of courage is the way that he's not a conventional spinner at all. He's not a conventional offie. So for him, courage is all about bowling those doostras and people saying, this is not a real spinner. And it took a lot of courage of conviction, because, you know, if you talk to him, you'll realize that every coach has tried to change his action, has tried to make him a conventional spinner, has tried to do things. And he's decided, no, I'm not going to do that. So that's one side of the courage. But the reason I think he's a true man of platinum is, you know, some of the things that he's done while being injured for India. I mean, if you remember the test, you know, just after losing in Australia, you know, the next match when they played, crucial partnership, 39 runs, crucial partnership with Hanuma Vihari. Yeah. Do you know at that point in time, he was so badly injured that the moment he'd finished, he literally went back to his hotel room and his wife and kids were there, and he was rolling on the floor in pain. Wow. And then the physio gets him back and they said, you've batted, you've done your job. He goes back and bowls 13, 14 overs, that famous match. And that is absolutely amazing. The kind of performance he's given, the bravery he's shown, you know, that only a man of platinum can do.
Polly?
Yeah, for me, the reason that makes him a man of platinum is, he's been at the edge of trying to develop his game, at the edge of trying to try new tricks, new deliveries. And the thing about that is when you learn how to do those, you can practice them in the nets and you might feel confident about doing it, but it's taking them out into the middle and then executing them well. And I think that's the key for me. He is not scared. He's not scared to go out there and try. He's not scared in the heat of battle to back his different variations and his options. And that takes a real man of platinum to be able to do that, to be able to hold your nerve and back your ability in those crunch times with different options. That's what makes him fantastic. For me.
I want to just come back to those stats again because it's quite interesting. Out of all the T20s that he's played, and we'll just look at that. And one number in that is that it's under 7, right? It's under 7. And that's what it is, right? You have virtues like self-belief, courage, integrity, perseverance, and you become inspiration to generations of young kids and players. And that's why Ravichandran Ashwin is our man of platinum today. So, yeah, will he give us one of those performances today? Well, Rajasthan Royals have won the toss and they have decided to bat first. Let's have a look at the teams. We have those. What's the 11 that Rajasthan is taking out into the field? This is their batting 11, of course. Yashasvi Jaiswal, Jos Buttler, Sanju Samson, Devdutt Padikkal, Shimron Hetmeyer, Dhruv Jurel. Then, of course, our man of platinum, Ravichandran Ashwin, Adam Zampa, Trent Bolt, Yuzi Chahal and Sandeep Sharma. So, who's the bowler that they'll sub in? They've got their 5 bowlers here.
Yeah, I'm wondering. I'm wondering because this attack, I see this attack is almost as a complete attack.
Yeah.
It has 5 really good bowlers.
It's like their bowling 11, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks like they said, we don't care. This is our 11.
Yeah.
We don't need these impact players and all. If we need them, we'll use them, but this is good enough for us.
Interesting.
Because otherwise, you wouldn't know. You couldn't have done Holder because Holder's a better bat. But then you wouldn't have been able to sub him out for an international player.
Yeah, they know the surface. They've decided to play 3 spinners here. Today they've got Zampa and Chahal was in that list, right?
Yeah, Chahal, Zampa, Ashwin.
Chahal, Ashwin, Zampa, all 3 of them are there. They've decided to play 3 spinners on the surface. Hey, I mean, if you've got that world-class lineup, no law in the book that stops you from bowling 12 overs out of 20 of spin, right, Polly?
Yeah, and our man of platinum is going to have to bowl in the first 6. I think that's the key to that bowling attack because you don't want to leave too many spinning options to go from over 7 through to the end. But they played the same 3 against him last time, didn't they? They also used the spinners against Gujarat, so they must believe in that. And Zampa's last outing on this ground was pretty impressive as well. So no real surprise that they do go for him as that third spinning option. Quality. I mean, international players at the best of the levels, they do fantastically well. So brilliant to be able to call on those 3.
Let's have a look at the Gujarat team as well, the team they're taking in, and then we can talk about, of course, both these teams and specific players. There you have Ridhiman Saha, Abhinav Manohar. It's the same team. Vijay Shankar, David Miller, Hardik Pandya, Rahul Tewatia, Josh Little, Rashid Khan, Mohammad Shami, Mohit Sharma, Noor Ahmed. This is their bowling 11. So one of the, maybe Shami, maybe Mohit will go out and Shubman Gill will come in here. So that's pretty easy. What they are doing is pretty easy to see. I'm just curious about Rajasthan. Oh, there you go. Who comes in? Maybe will they get Kuldeep Yadav, K. Asim, Murugan? They can get actually.
Yeah, this is the other Kuldeep Yadav, of course. Yeah. And look, Murugan Ashwin also choice is there.
They can't have another leg spinner. Come on.
You can't. Come on. You can't have another leg.
That's just way too much. Stop it.
If you have 2, why can't you have 3?
3 leggies. No. Could be Asif, could be Kuldeep, could be one of them. But for Gujarat, it's very clear. I think for Rajasthan, I think the problem that they are having, perhaps, Polly, is that last year's champions, they had 2 champions last year, the orange cap holder and the purple cap holder, both Jos Buttler and Yuzi Chahal, after starting again this season, picking up from the previous one, now suddenly in the last few matches, both of them are off the boil a bit.
Yeah, you're allowed to go through that, and I wouldn't be overly concerned. I mean, we know the class of the players, so invariably you actually want them to be peaking at the back end of the tournament when you get to the knockouts and maybe into the big important games like your eliminators in your finals, for example. But, I mean, he's a proud player, isn't he, Jos Buttler? So he won't be happy with averaging 17 in a strike rate under 100 his last 5 games. So he'll be dead keen to get back on track. But the good thing is they've been dovetailing beautifully. They've had everyone else, Jaswal's been batting around them. The only actually person I'd be a little bit concerned about, and I mentioned on the show last night, is Bhattacharjya.
Yeah.
I think people need to just have a little chat with him and just tell him to relax a little bit. I mean, he's out of his comfort zone with regards to his batting position. In fact, the big performance that he put in the RPL so far was when they lost early wickets, and he almost came in as an opener.
Yeah.
I think they were like in the second over. So he's just struggling a little bit with that role. Nice to have him as a left-hand option. But I think, as I was saying last night, I think Kumar Sangakkara hanging around him has got to be giving them little game plan differences. Like saying, listen, you don't have to try and get in there and whack it. Maybe work it past third man when you first get in, get yourself going, and then find a way to get in and kick on. So he's the only one that I'd be concerned about. And I wouldn't even be concerned. I'd just be spending a bit of time as a coach with him, trying to get his head in a good space.
Yeah, just unlock him a little bit. Another player that we feel maybe is playing out of position because he's such a talented striker. We talk the Gujarat captain, Hardik Pandya, right? Such a talented striker. Coming into bat at 3, is that responsibility, right? And obviously at most times he's coming in the last few games very early because Gill and Saha haven't been able to stitch an opening partnership together, which means he comes in really early. So there's a rebuild that's required, and that's why his strike rate is suffering. And then you go, as you keep pushing him down, when he has lesser time to think and more time to act immediately, you see what magic he does. So you know he's capable of all of this. So you're thinking now, why is he coming number 3? They had Kane Williamson to play that role, gets injured in the first game. They get Sai Sudarshan into play. He does that role really well. But then they want to slot Vijay Shankar in, but not by Vijay Shankar at 3. So Hardik moves up from 4, which he's done last season, to number 3, taking on more responsibility. But you're telling him that, don't grow up so soon, son. Have some fun.
No, absolutely. And the last match is a case in point.
Yeah.
Gets an unbeaten 50, but because he's got to play the anchor role as well, it's impossible. There's very few people who can just switch between one and the second. So he just got into that anchor role, and then in the end, they just left themselves with too much. I mean, otherwise, how often do you know that Hardik Pandya is batting at one end and they haven't managed to complete a match?
Yeah.
But that's because he's just totally gone into one mode. Now, my belief is he's fantastic. I would love to bat him at 5 or 6. Then 5, 6, 7, you have him, Miller, Tewatia following. That's a deadly combination.
Is it, 1 second, is it then that they have the exact opposite problem of Rajasthan, where Rajasthan has a glut of openers, right? They've got too many openers and, hey, who's going to bat in the middle, right? And these guys have too many finishers.
I feel
so who's going to bat at 3? Hardik Pandya, Vijay Shankar has shown that, David Miller, Abhinav Manohar, Rahul Tewatia. They should say, listen, can we just play the last 5 overs 4 times? Yeah, Polly?
Are you suggesting a loan deal that maybe Padikkal changes and goes to the opposition and he goes and bats at number 3?
I mean, I wasn't, but if I'm making 10% on either side, I'll suggest anything.
We'll do it.
I'll give you 5.
I'll make the call.
Is that what's happening?
Yeah,
but is that what's happening? Because there's too many heavy hitters and finishers. Hardik is taking the responsibility as a captain and a senior player. That's great. But why stop yourself from what you're good at doing? Why? You can become over-responsible and over-zealous with that growing up and maturity.
Look, I totally agree. And I've seen so many captains do that. I've seen captains getting into that position not bowling themselves because they feel that, they need to use the other bowlers better. You have to have a little bit of selfishness and say, what? I need to bat at 5 because when I bat at 5 and I strike it, I really change the game.
Yeah.
And I need to find somebody else needs to grow up and take that 3. Because that's the 3 is the position that, Kane Williamson is the guy that's slotted in. That's the position they have to fill. So I think that they have to do. They have to find somebody else to do it because for this team to do really well, Hardik has to be completely comfortable in his head.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be doing anything that does not make him, because you can do it for one match. If you expect him for the next 7 matches to think, because batting at number 3 is a responsibility.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's fair on him to be taking that. I would move him back. I'd move him back.
Or Polly, the captain could just tell his opener, saying, can you please give me a 50-run partnership so I don't have to come in so early?
Yeah, that might be the plan. Sahar needs to maybe get a few more on the board. But actually, from the other side of the coin is that maybe he's actually wanting to kind of develop his career. Maybe he has a word with management and said, listen, I'd like to back myself a little bit higher up the order. I mean, that could be a case in point, but we wouldn't know that unless we had a discussion with him.
Yeah.
But he is a fine player, and I think he has got that ability to adjust. But as you say, if they get off to a nice, solid start, I think that plays into his hands because although he'll be batting at 3, he'll basically be coming in at 4 or 5.
Yeah, if he comes in, like he's been coming in at 4 previous season and that worked for him, pushed himself up to 3. If he's pushing himself up, I'd say go open. Hardik is opener. Would be fantastic. I'm telling you, in the power play, Hardik would not bat like this and it'd be, but you never know. You see, every year he's getting elevated. Maybe next year he opens. But yeah, this number 3 perhaps coming in early, number 3, just taking it around. I'll tell you something. Before we question it or anybody else, throws a spotlight on it, he himself will be analyzing himself pretty hard because for Hardik to be there right till the end, Joy, and not finish that game and fall short at the end, and he minced no words. I love that. At the end of the last game, he said, it's on me. We lost this game. We botched this chase. It's all on me. You gotta love that. You've spoken to me about Gautam Gambhir, the captain at Knight Riders, there once doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking responsibility for the actions. And his feeling was that I was the guy in this crease who had spent the most time.
Yeah.
I knew this pitch. We knew that this was a bad pitch. So I knew I could stick around. I just didn't accelerate on time. And that's what he said. And I think he's going to get better and better because I think that's the one thing their dressing room has. They have open, frank conversations where people take responsibility.
Yeah.
Moment you have a situation like that, I think things have really good in the team. But who has to take responsibility now? And I was thinking about it. You were talking about Riddhiman Saha.
Yep.
And I think that's a serious problem. But here's what I want to tell you. People are saying that Riddhiman Saha is not having a great season. If you look at his IPL career, and I've been seeing him since 2008 when he was a part of KKR, Riddhiman Saha has got 300 runs in a year only twice in his 15 years.
Okay.
He's not, and his strike rate has always been that 115, 120, 125 because he gets a couple off, but he can't get off strike that easily. And he needs the field in for him to be able to hit the ball out.
Yeah.
So he's playing really up at the top of his capacity. But that's about as much upside as you get with Riddhiman.
Okay.
He's not a natural batsman or a natural striker. He's a good athlete. He's a very smart creator, very dedicated. But that's the thing. This
is what we're talking about, what he did for them in the previous
317.
year.
But even that is at 122. Okay.
Fair. Okay.
It's at 122 and that 317, he got 317 that year. He got 360 odd in 2014 when he got a century in the finals against Kolkata.
Yeah.
But those are the only 2 years he scored more than 300 runs.
So what would you, as team management, what would you tell Saha, Polly? Would you just say, listen, man, we just want you for 30, 35 runs of 15 balls. That's what you need to get for us?
No, that's exactly what they
I think the first 6 overs.
Yeah.
First 6 overs are key for him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got to be that guy. He's not the kind of guy who's going to whack it over guys on the boundary, is he?
Yeah.
He's the kind of guy who can be effective in beating that inner ring. So he can pop it over the top, it lands short, runs out to the boundary. I think that's his role. So they're saying to him, listen, you try and be there. So we divided in 18 balls, 20 balls, half of the power play. That's your job. If you can strike at 125, if you can get us 25, 30, and then we've got the firepower to come after that. So I think they'll almost try and take the pressure off him. He's there for his keeping. His keeping is brilliant. He does a wonderful job behind the stumps. But try and take the pressure off him.
Of course, on the other side, both pairs of openers will have a tough time getting going. Remember, Josh Butler's not got that many runs. Saha's not got that many. The partnership has not been good for Gujarat. Yashasvi is the only one of these openers who's actually been super successful. But both of them are up against opening bowlers who are at the top of their game, they're top of their trade. And if the situation gives them something, they are going to squeeze that lemon dry. We're talking about the best in the biz. Mohammad Shami for Gujarat and Trent Bolt for Rajasthan. And we've got one of the best in the biz, Shaun Pollock, phoning it in from South Africa. Who's going to tell us about who's going to tell us
They're
about
going to be
both
asking
of these?
questions.
Sorry?
Yeah, asking questions. And in slightly different ways. Mohammad Shami is more off the seam, hitting a wonderful length. I mean, he must be beaming with confidence. That performance he put on the other night, there's very few occasions in the IPL where, as a fast bowler, your heart is warmed by what you see and how they dominating the batters, and that was one of them. And also his last performance against the Rajasthan Royals was brilliant. What he had after 3 overs, I think he had something like 2 or 3 for not much. Obviously, he went for 16 or 20 when he came back.
It was almost a test bowling. It was almost a test match opening spell power play by him and Pandya. I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it warms my heart when I see the bowlers in charge, dominating. And Trent Bolt's got that similar ability. He's more relying on the shape through the air and trying to trap people in front and trying to use the movement. But I tell you what, you could do worse than those two opening for you in the power play.
Yeah, I mean, if you had to choose one to bowl for your life, up top with the new ball. I don't know if I could choose. It's like,
Yeah.
how do you choose?
And see, that's the point. They have very different strengths.
Yeah.
The fact Trent Bolt says that he's bringing it back. So you're always an LBW candidate. You're always a Bolt candidate because, up front, that gap between bat and pad, especially playing a lot of T20. And on the other side, you have this guy who's shaping it away.
Shaping it in, shaping it away. He's just his seam presentation, best in the biz. The run-up. Let's talk about his run-up, Ollie. Mohammad Shami's run-up. It just seems so fluid. It's like he's the wind.
Yeah. When you ask the kids always say to you, well, what should I do with my run-up? And there's two things you get wrong. You can either go too slow or you can go too fast because then you're rushed at the crease or you're not got enough momentum at the crease. He just seems to be absolutely perfect at the moment. The way he's running and the way he's hitting that crease, the momentum is with him. He's nice and balanced. And as you say, his seam position is brilliant. It's coming out beautifully. And he's in control of his length. And I think that's the key that people don't understand. I mean, he could blindfold him and say, run up and bowl a good length at the moment, and he'd do it. He'd be top of off, nipping it around without having to think about it. And that's such a wonderful place to be in as an international bowler, even in the IPL, to feel like you're in control and you're making things work.
Gujarat, of course, is going to be bowling first, and they've got a great mix of bowlers. We'll just have a look at their team again so you can see who all they're bowling. Because they, of course, have Mohammad Shami that they begin with. Hardik Pandya likes to take the new ball. Then you've got Mohit Sharma, and he's so tricky. He's won 2 Player of the Match awards for them, and that's not too shabby for somebody who was their net bowler last year. So love that story. Then, of course, there's Joshua Little. He's not going to be playing for a while. He's here for just a little while because he has to go to Bangladesh. Stop it. Behave yourself. And then there's, of course, the 2 wrist spinners, Rashid Khan and his protege, Noor Ahmed. Noor Ahmed calls Rashid Khan Google, right? And I've seen it, by the way. I've seen it in front of me. He just asks him all the questions, eats the food that Rashid cooks. He's like his mini-me walking around. But if you want to be somebody's mini-me, Rashid's a very, very good option.
Choice, very good choice. Well, absolutely fantastic. It's so great. I mean, I was just being told that he's been in the IPL auction. I haven't followed it. Since the age of 14, somebody's put his name in there saying that, we could pick this guy. So
Really?
Seriously. And so
Wow.
he finally comes in now at the age of 18. He's finally made it there. But from 4 years, he's been watching an IPL auction saying, I could be there. I could be the guy out there.
He's 14. I had no idea about this. But yeah, there he is. And look at the wickets he's taken, right? Those returns are not too shabby. Polly, you've got Samson, Pandya Puran, Cameron Green, Tim David, Surya Kumar Yadav, Gurbaz, Rinku Singh. That is a very nice roll call.
Yeah, I've been really impressed by what I've seen. We had Waka Salamkeel make his debut here for the MR Cape Town in our SA20. And I thought to myself, gosh, where's he been hiding? Now they've produced another one. I mean, they've got them coming out of the curtains there, left, right, and centre. So he's been brilliant. I've enjoyed his inclusion. I've loved his variations. He has learned that pace. I think that's the key. That if you spent any time with Rashid, the key would have been what pace do I need to bowl at in order to be effective, so that people can't run down at me, can't just stand and deliver. And I think that's what he's worked out. And I tell you what, there'll be a lot of guys analysing him. Maybe when the first few games were played, they wouldn't have been overly concerned.
I remember.
But now everyone will be watching the footage to see what does it do, how does it come out, where does it go?
Yeah.
And we need to be able to play him.
It's like, I'm sorry, it's like when I was growing up, they used to say, well, you shake a tree in the Caribbean and a fast bowler falls out, right? Similarly in Afghanistan, right? You shake a tree there and you have a wrist spinner falling out of there. They're masters of their trade. All right, I want to know what question Joy has for us today. What have you got? I'll tell you a question.
Yeah.
Which spinner? Yeah, what, Polly?
Okay. Which international franchise have all these stars represented? Muralidharan, Afridi, Maxwell, Pollard, Narayan and Chris Gale. And the only reason I ask is there are so many franchises now that to figure out who's managed to get
I'll tell
all
you,
these.
the Bangladesh Bangers.
Sounds a great team.
Doesn't it?
Why don't they have a name like that?
Yeah. It isn't.
Ooh, I didn't tell you were wrong. Except that the Bangladesh franchises won't have a Bangladesh team. Of course, the Mumbai Indians are called the Mumbai
Come on, I know what I'm saying. I just look like I don't. Polly, do you want to guess something?
No, he's not going to guess.
He knows?
He's been answering all the time. So we've got to give our guys a chance.
Tell me, just whisper in my ear, no one else listening. Do you actually know the answer?
No. I haven't got a clue. I mean, there's those guys. As soon as you throw Pollard into the mix, I mean, he's played for so many different franchises. Like, how am I going to ever work this out? Anyway, I'll give it some thought. I'm sure they've already put an answer in for you, Joy.
I must check.
Some of the
I've
people around there.
got to go and check.
I'm thinking. I have no idea. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live. Send in your answers on Twitter. We are waiting to hear from you. We are waiting to hear from you. I'm got very inspired. I'm going to compose a song about Joy Factor right after this. But right now, I have to ask you to give your score guesses. Rajasthan is batting first. It's Jaipur.
It's a big ground.
It's a very big ground. In fact, sometimes you need to take a taxi to run from one end to the other.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to go 170.
170. That's a
Conservative.
It's a small ground score.
They did post 200 there the other
Yes.
day, but I think the bowling attacks that they've got, I'm going to go 177.
Oh,
You're going higher.
Where are you going?
I think I'm going to go lower. It's good bowling on either side.
Lower.
164.
164.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, 164. It's just a guess. What do we know anyway? Right? I mean, I don't even know the things I know. How do you expect me to know the things I don't know? All right. What I do know is that we're going to see you on Cricbuzz Combox after the 11th over. No? What is it? The 10th? 10th.
Come on.
Sorry, apparently it's the 10th.
10th.
Apparently it's the 10th. I told you, I don't even know the things I know. So we'll see you at the end of the 10th on, what's it called again? Cricbuzz Combox. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Big thank you to Joy Bhattacharjya and Shaun Pollock. You were watching Cricbuzz Live and I am
Muthaiya
Muralitharan playing for the Bangladesh Bangers. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Jaipur via Kota.
कृपया ध्यान आपको अहमदाबाद
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವ ರೈಲು
Hyderabad 50 Express পরবর্তী স্টেশন নেতাজি ভবন। कृपया ध्यान दें